Hello everybody, and welcome to my next episode. Today I will be playing a game called the Stanley Parable. And I don't know what this game is about. Okay? This is part of my blind playthrough series. And for those of you who somehow have missed what my blind playthrough series is, I have not seen so much as a description of this game. I've seen not even a screenshot. I saw the first second of the trailer while pulling up the Steam page, but that's it. All I know is that it's a parable about a guy called Stanley. The guy who told me to play this game, she told me to English language words. She told me to accelerate this further up in my list because it is apparently something truly magical. So, let's just dive in, yeah? I don't want to spend too long on an intro. Hopefully someday I'll get an actual, intro clip video thingy like all the cool kids got, but I ain't got one of those, so let's English. I have not played the Stanley Parable before. Confirm. Oh, fucking. It's currently... I'm gonna give that 30 seconds and y'all are gonna see a nice jump cut. Done. I wanted to wait for the clock to strike it by the second. Wow. I don't know why this game wants my time, and that's worrying. If it was for some sort of twist, it would probably have just sourced it from my computer, right? So I've got a little computer here. We've got some what's the word? I don't know the word for this, but we've got some infinite loop here. A phone, voices in the background. The end is never the end. 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 The end is loading. The end is loading. That's frightening.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
That's
this is what employee
intriguing.
427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered
yeah, that would be fucking...
Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
So what's this job pay?
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oh, that's my cue. Okay, so the movement WASD, very simple, very simple. I feel like I glide a little bit, which is concerning. Is that an error in development, or is that part of the... Oh, I can crouch. I hate Mondays. Okay. So indeed, there's... Oh, I can interact with stuff by clicking. Even though the prompt never shows up. The fuck? Why am I still clicking? So nothing actually moves.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Okay, so I turned off his computer. I was meaning to inspect it. Pencil sharpener there. Interesting how that's the only thing at this desk. A pencil sharpener and a lamp. This is...
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference. Nor did it advance the story in any way.
Cheeky fucking bastard! Ah, fucking Christ. I can't believe it fucking did that to me. That's really impressive, actually.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
What? It's telling me before I don't know. What do I do? The story hunter in me wants to go to the right, but what happens? I'm about to fuck up.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley
I don't trust this.
Here, drinking it all in.
I don't trust the narrator. I don't... Fuck, something's wrong.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
I don't trust the narrator.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
The narrator's not leading me the right way. But the narrator has power here, I'm sure of it. So what do I... Fuck, this game's psyching me out hardcore right now. I am fucking...
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
The standard working experience. Happy feelings. don't trust this. I'm frightened. Oh, shit. Shit. Get Chris out of the broom closet. Hire some... Oh my god. Who moved my desk? Please keep targets on the topic of erased. Complete today's unfinished agenda items right next to today's agenda. Fuck, I can't believe this game has psyched me out so hardcore with just that.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
I need to stop trusting my narrator.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow.
I don't believe you.
Empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
I don't trust this.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Oh, fuck. Fuck.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
I've clicked on basically everything in here. I can't interact with any of it in a meaningful way.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
A note.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did
the
doors
floating
close
automatically
automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
This is psyching me out hard.
I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
What the fuck?
And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain beyond
This
a doubt
narrator is
that this was
unreliable.
in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of the world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons.
Something's wrong. I don't know what.
It's all I want. I
What
want my
is this
apartment,
game?
and my wife, and my job.
I have a wife.
All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
This job can't
My
pay
life
too well
is
if I've got an
normal.
apartment.
I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Shit.
This is the story of a woman
What?
named Mariella.
I'm sorry, what?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed,
What's
gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
I'm back. I'm back here. Was that an ending? God, I died. Was that me? I don't.
All his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Fuck.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
How is this game psyched me out so easily? What the fuck? I've seen games spend hours trying to build up this kind of feeling, but that one sentence got me. And I don't know how.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, not I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
I'm gonna sit here for a sec. I'm just gonna sit here. Just hang out. Okay, apparently he wasn't lying. He actually isn't gonna say anything.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
I don't know. Should I? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to. I'm sorry if y'all hear the dinging in the background. I should have closed my Explorer here. I'm going to close my Chrome so y'all don't hear. Boss's office. I didn't expect that to open. I don't. Dear God. What's happening?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
He wants me to do this. This is what he wants from me. This one looks different from the others. I don't trust that.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
What's happening? Dear God.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This
okay, I'm feeling
question
more.
would not
Wait.
go unanswered for long.
Why am I trusting the narrator?
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Because something's wrong here.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow! I'm bolted to the edge of my seat. Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this? Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he? Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
I can't trust the narrator. He lies.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Pray for me, everybody. Shit. I'm alive. I'm alive.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise,
Not for long.
it reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Another narrator?
In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What the fuck?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Oh, fuck. I can see that actually. Yeah, this was central to the game's design. Credits?
Of course, you being you, you'll probably spend the next hour trying to solve it. Here, I'm just going to make this easy on the facility to end this injustice forever. Stanley pushed the number 6. Then he pushed the number 4.
Is the game over? I don't understand. I don't get it. Freedom ending?
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. Listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice.
I get the feeling something's going to happen. I suppose not. Don't tell me I just restarted the game. I just restarted the game.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room.
Did you just restart?
Business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Fuck. I did what that lady narrator told me to, and I...
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
What's happening?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
Oh,
I'm trying to make
fucking
a point
Christ.
here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
No. So that's it then. I'm sealed in.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So, he went further.
What's happening?
He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls, and down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions, and down another was a game with a baby, and he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Gonna leave that there for a sec. See what happens. I don't have the option to stop.
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And
Fuck.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley
This episode's already gone on longer than I anticipated, but I can't stop.
Tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
No, I said go up. Oh well.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
I have to know. I have to see, I have to understand.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
There. I have to see. I have to know.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Recursion.
It was unthinkable.
Sorry, the word I was thinking about at the beginning of the game.
Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
This whole game feels recursive.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
This is what the narrator wants.
Would dismantle the controls once and for all.
The narrator wants me to shut this down, or wants me to try. I don't know how. I can't trust him. But I have to trust him.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
No.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
No, I was home. I was free. I was out of this place. What's happening?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
This video has been going on for an hour now. Or 45 minutes, I mean. I think it's time for you to end the episode here, but holy shit. Holy shit, this game has fucked with me. Holy. Okay, everyone. Good night. Have a wonderful night. Take care of yourselves. This is getting another episode. But I gotta get ready for work. Holy fuck. This game has gotten me hard. Everybody, remember to take care of yourselves. I'm gonna go get some soup. I'm gonna go take care of myself. Everyone have a good night. I hope you enjoy. Sam out.